What's going on, guys? I'm not going to pretend that this is a normal video. I'm sorry if I ramble in this video. I'm going to be doing this a lot more off the cuff than I normally do. I got a list of bullet points in front of me to make sure I don't forget anything major, and it's mostly linear. So, to state the obvious, I just got burnt out. Going forward, I'm going to be taking my channel in a different direction, at least when it comes to these kinds of videos where I'm just talking to you guys. But that aside, where have I been? I did tell Mr. Adam Skeptic I would be making this video a few days ago, and if he's watching, thank you for reaching out to me and make sure I was alive. I might have been dead, honestly. When I was making my first wave of videos, I was unemployed. I'd been laid off when COVID first started, and I was living off my savings. Eventually, after the first stimulus check, I ran out of money. I was living with my uncle at the time, and he was fine with me being unemployed as long as I was paying rent. I was paying about $100 a month. Once I got to less than $200 in my bank account, it became clear that I needed to get another job. In the area I was living in, jobs were sparse and terrible in terms of pay. I didn't want to move back in with my parents, but I knew I would need to eventually. When the money ran out completely, my uncle totally changed. He locked me out of the house and he wouldn't let me back in, even to grab my belongings. I called my dad to come pick me back up, and I moved back in with my parents. My dad said I could live with them under the condition that I stay employed, and he set me up with an interview. Going into the interview, I passed the drug test, and I got the job. I don't do drugs or alcohol. Never have, never will. I'm not interested in that sort of thing. Drugs and alcohol invite the devil, so I stay as far away from that stuff as possible. I digress. I should probably go back a little bit and explain what happened with my uncle. I was never able to get my stuff back from my uncle. A lot of it was mostly pawned. I don't know where, so I lost pretty much everything except the clothes off my back. You could say I hit rock bottom, but at least I had a place to stay. My family warned me about my uncle for a long time, and I didn't listen. At the time, when I was first moving in with my uncle, he was the coolest person I had ever known. He taught me a lot of things, and moving in with him seemed like a good idea at the time. My family didn't really like my uncle before I was evicted, but once he did, he was basically forbidden to come to any family events. As of now, he is no longer banned from those events, for reasons that will make sense by the end of this video. Well, soon after I moved back in with my parents, I started going back to church and hanging out with the people I knew from high school. There was this one person who, for privacy reasons, I will call James. Skipping a lot of details, and I mean a lot, we got really close. Now, my whole life, I always knew I was different. Especially when I hit puberty, I knew that I had homosexual attractions. It was a very confusing time. I didn't understand it, but I knew it was wrong. I eventually conceded to my mom, who told me that it was my personal struggle I was going to have to overcome. She told me never to tell anyone, including my dad, and most importantly, never to act on it. So, getting back to where we were, after me and James had a bit of a falling out, he decided to oust me rather publicly. James was an openly gay man, so hanging around him at all in public was not an option. But even him just telling people was enough to convince them. And I'm also a terrible liar. When people would confront me, I would deny it, but I would stumble over myself when I tried to explain. It was pretty obvious to everyone that I had these urges, and for people in my church, that meant I was a reprobate and could never really be saved, and certainly not welcome I was never outright banned from the church, but it was extremely unwelcoming. And when my dad found out, he kicked me out, and I don't know if he'll ever talk to me again. If he somehow finds this video, I would like to say that I backslid. It was a mistake, and I understand that God hates it. God hates all sin. So I was basically disowned by my father. I was homeless, without a community, and to top it all off, President Donald Trump did not receive a second term in office. A lot of people had different opinions about that. I'm not going to get into it here, but how I feel should be pretty obvious if you've watched my channel for any period of time. And don't expect me to make any videos about it soon. YouTube censors right-wing opinions because it is run by liberal Democrats influenced by communism and secular humanism. Basically anything that tells the truth, they're going to shut down immediately. This is why atheist videos get pushed out there way more than Christian videos or right-leaning videos. Anything to the right of Joseph Stalin is unacceptable and must be eliminated from the internet. Anyways, I digress. The main takeaway should be that I became extremely depressed. Fortunately, I was able to move in with another friend who lives in Texas. My dad also let me take the items I could bring, which was a small relief. Once I moved out to Texas, I just didn't get a job. I laid around and pretty much did nothing for months. This was the worst period of my life. I was totally unproductive and got no joy from anything. I assume that's how people with depression feel. If that's the case, it gives me a whole new perspective on the aspect of mental illness. After a few months of doing nothing, my friend basically told me he couldn't support me anymore unless I got a job. He was all I had left, so I felt pressured to get a job. And to be clear, no, me and him are not together. He's just a good friend of mine. I do not act on those urges anymore. I believe they are sinful, and God does not like them. God hates sin. Getting back on track, though. I found a job and passed the interview, and after a few weeks of working around people who knew nothing about what happened to me back home, I began to feel happier. It wasn't an overnight thing, but over time I started feeling like myself again. Working around people that didn't know about my personal struggle who accepted me was more powerful than I could have imagined. I started having money so I could buy the movies I was wanting to buy, and I was able to get a new microphone. And that's the microphone you're listening to right now. And that pretty much brings us to now. I'm happier than I've been in a long time. Probably happier than I was when I started making videos. If I sound upset in this video, it's just because I'm, reliving in a small degree what I've went through. So where do I want to go from here? Well, the first thing you're going to notice is a series of 100 question videos. The purpose of these videos is to help me find a home spiritually. I really can't go back to the Baptist church if they're going to go nuclear every time they find out someone in the congregation is struggling with a particular sin. So whichever group most adequately answers my questions, I will convert to that denomination. This is a trial period. You have your chance to convince me. You might also see 100 question videos that, for other religions, do not expect me to convert to them if they are not Christian. Those videos are more of curiosity than anything else. I know that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, and nothing is going to make me change my mind on that except evidence. But after these videos are released, do not expect me to make too many more videos about religion and politics. I'm not saying I won't delve into those topics anymore. It's just that YouTube has made it clear that they don't want that kind of content on their platform, and it's just the way it is. I want to make videos that I don't want to have to worry about getting deleted 3 to 5 years down the line because YouTube changes their guidelines arbitrarily. Slowly chipping away at channels that tell the truth like mine. The 100 question series will almost certainly continue. And maybe more top 10 lists. Any suggestions on other types of videos you would like to see are welcome. Well, that is pretty much everything. If you made it to the end of this video, leave a comment down below saying God is real. Godspeed, ladies and gentlemen. Godspeed.